Okay, fantastic. We've got loads of people showing up. That's really good to see you all. Okay, so I'll keep an eye on making sure that we don't miss anyone who's tuning in a little bit later. I know for some of you it's probably a slightly awkward time zone, so thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Caitlin, and I'll be presenting this webinar on getting ready for the Camino de Santiago. So again, hopefully you'll all get something out of this, and a few more people still joining. Great. Okay. All right, so I apologize if there's any glitches with the PowerPoint. I'm trying to do all of this from a home office. I know some of you will know exactly what that's like. It's all a little bit different at the moment, but please do bear with and let me know if there are any issues with the PowerPoint by just popping me a message in the group chat. All right, so as I said earlier, my name is Caitlin, and I am coming to you from Ireland, from Follow the Camino. We are a Camino agent, and we specialize in the Camino. We have done for a very long time, and we are hoping that we'll be welcoming people back to the Camino again very soon. There will be a recording of this webinar, and there'll be time for questions right at the end. So just hold on to those, write them down and remember them so that we can get to them just at the end. Right, let's get to it. So quick update on who we are. Oh no, this is going interestingly. What we're going to go through today is who we are as a company, and then how to get ready for your Camino, and some questions and answers. So save up all those questions to the end, as I said. Hopefully we will go through this nice and quickly, and there'll be plenty of time for questions. Of course, if you don't want to send it through the chat, you're welcome to chat me privately, or you can send us an email at the end. So there'll be plenty of opportunities to ask all of your questions. So who we are. We're an Irish company. We were established in 2006, so we've been doing this for ages. As I said, we're based in Dublin, which is where I am right now, and it's a gorgeous day outside. We're a multilingual team. We have people from all over the place. It's quite an amazing office to be part of. And together we have got over 10,000 kilometers of walking and cycling experience. We all try and get out as often as we can onto some of the trails that we do. Our clients are also from all over the world, and we love chatting to people in all the different time zones as well. We have really high customer satisfaction, which is something that we really pride ourselves on. And if you want to check out any of our reviews, you're welcome to just jump over to FIFO. You'll see that on the screen there, or TripAdvisor, and you'll be able to see some reviews of our past happy customers. We have an extensive network of hotels and service providers, which is something that we also really pride ourselves in. We work with a lot of small providers, little guest houses in the middle of nowhere, and we love working with family businesses so we can support the local economy as well. And finally, we have dedicated Camino planners for all of our trips. So if you book a trip with us, you'll be talking to a person here in Dublin who will be helping you the whole way through your journey from, maybe I should do a Camino, all the way through to, wow, what an amazing adventure. And that leads us on to Your Camino, Your Way. So we use our incredible experience and our wonderful team to make the perfect Camino for you. And this means that everything is customized from route discovery all the way through hotel selection, luggage transfers, holiday packs, and support. So that means that right from the beginning, we've got your back. We're making sure that if you have a specific interest in certain things, we're matching your journey to those things. We're making sure that everything is going to be the highest level of comfort that you're looking for. So as I said, we work with a lot of small guest houses and small hotels, and we also make sure that all of your bags are transferred for you so that you can spend your time enjoying the Camino instead of going, oh my gosh, my bag is very heavy. And from before you leave, we also make sure that you have everything that you need, including a gorgeous scallop shell to hang on your backpack, all the way through to your incredible route notes and your road book. And the whole way, again, you'll have incredible support. This lovely person in that little support picture is actually one of our Camino specialists when she was doing the Camino herself. So before, during, and after your trip, you'll be dealing with one of us personally. So the next part is just about getting ready for the Camino, and there's two main parts to that. There's your training side and your packing side. We're going to briefly go over both of those. There's loads more information on our website as well if you'd like to have a read there. And also, as soon as you get in touch with us, we'll obviously have one of our Camino planners who's able to answer any of your questions on the way to your journey leaving. So the Camino genuinely is for all fitness levels, and this is something that we have loads of questions about, but we can absolutely assure you that we have had people who are incredibly unfit when they start their training. We've got people who have injuries, older people, people who are traveling with families, with young kids, and we really can make sure that the trip is suited to you. Some people may take longer to do their Camino, but you will still manage it. And remember that the more training you do beforehand, the better. So make sure that you work that into your schedule. If you're relatively fit, you'll have probably just a couple of months of training. Otherwise, if you can work in a little bit more, that would be great. And we've got videos on YouTube as well, which will help you to make the best choices when you are doing your training. When you start to train, it's very simple right at the beginning. Nice short walks as often as possible, fast or slow, hilly if you'd like. So make sure that you take every opportunity to get those steps in. Then you get longer every day because when you're on the Camino, you're looking at about 20 to 25 kilometers, which is 12 to 15 miles per day. Now that sounds like a big number, but remember that when you space it out over a whole day, take a nice long break in the middle for some tapas or some snacks, couple of gelato breaks, ice cream breaks along the way, you will actually find that that flies by so much faster than you expect it to. And on the weekends, just get in some of those long walks, start getting used to those 20 to 25 kilometer walks, and you will be good to go by the time you get onto the Camino itself. Then when we're looking at the terrain really varies depending on which Camino route you take. So for example, if you are going to be taking one of the sections of the French Camino, the Camino Francis, you're going to probably find a few more wide tracks, potentially a little bit of road walking, whereas if you're going all the way into the interesting nitty-gritty parts of the northern walks, you may find that there are slightly more hilly bits, slightly more hill walks, things like that, that will be a bit more of a challenge for you. So all of our Camino experts will be able to tell you all of this information as well, that you can let them know what your fitness level is and what you're comfortable doing, and they can help you plan the best section and best route for you. In terms of walking gear, when you're training, it's good to start off with a decent pair of shoes and socks and a waterproof jacket. You'll need a backpack, and if you're planning on walking with hiking poles, which we do recommend, then try and train with those as well. It's very important to train with the gear that you're planning on using on the Camino, because that means that you will you'll be able to wear it all in, make sure that you're not going to get any blisters from it, and once you get onto the Camino, you'll know your gear. You'll know that it fits you. You'll know that it's not going to fall apart on you. You'll know that your rain jacket is actually waterproof. All of these things will contribute to having the best possible Camino for you. Now, a couple of little hiking techniques and tips, because whilst we may all think that we're excellent at walking because we can put one foot in front of the other, it gets a little bit more complicated than that when you're walking 25 kilometers every day for multiple days in a row. So, pace and rhythm are very important when it comes to walking for a long period of time. And now this is something that anyone who's walked a lot will be able to will be able to attest to, and anyone who's done marathons, which obviously this is a lot easier than a marathon, will be able to tell you this as well. Keeping a similar rhythm and a similar pace the whole way uses less energy, and it means that you're going to be in a better shape as you continue on your walk. So trying to reduce speeding up and slowing down, and just keep plodding along. That will help you a lot in your training and on your Camino. So it's good to get used to it as early on as possible. Using walking poles. As I mentioned earlier, we do recommend walking poles for a lot of our clients. It'll help you to keep your rhythm because you've got your arms moving in time with your legs, and it also helps with uneven or unsteady ground. Now, as I said, they're all well-marked trails, but certain parts can still be a bit rocky, and there is a chance that you might find yourself on some gravelly patches. So having those extra 2 anchors in the ground will help to make sure that you stay on your feet. It's a little bit like having a 3rd and 4th leg, if you like. And so when you step forward with one foot, you put the opposite pole on the ground, and it'll just mean that you're nice and steady as you walk. Make sure that you are practicing on hills, because when you get to the hills, it's very important that you try and keep a steady pace. Now, what that means for a lot of people is shortening your stride so that you can keep stepping the same number of steps per minute, if you like. And that'll also just help you to keep chugging. No matter how steep the hill is, you can just take smaller and smaller steps. Or of course, if you're going up really steep hills, then zigzagging will also help because that effectively makes the hill a little bit less steep. So if you're doing, as you should be doing, hill training, make sure that you take those 2 things into account. Downhill is also something that it's worth making sure that you practice, because it can actually be quite hard on your knees as well. Especially if the ground is loose, you're going to be having your knees bent quite a lot. And that means that you'll end up working your knee muscles and your leg muscles in a slightly different way. So it's important to continue to keep your posture upright, don't lean forwards too much, and adjust your poles so that when you're going downhill, you've still got those 2 points of contact on the ground. Just a note with going downhills, if you do have any twitchy knees or twitchy hips, it's definitely a good idea to try and work those poles, the walking poles, into your training from as early as possible, because this can really help to take the strain off your knees as you're walking. The mental challenge is one of the things that a lot of people don't necessarily think about. When you're training for a long walk, you may actually find that you're training your brain as well as your body. And the Camino is a mental challenge. At various points, you're going to be tired, you might be sore, you might be hungry, and you're just waiting for another meal to come around or for the next place to get some snacks. But there is plenty in there that will make sure that your mental state is challenged. And it's incredibly important to stay positive during this. So while you're training, remember to think about positive things, put on your favorite song, sing along, try and get into a meditative state. We find that some of our clients really talk about meditation while they're walking, almost unconsciously, and listening to your breathing, counting your steps, those kinds of things can really help you through those points where you're cold or you are just a little bit done for the day, but you've still got a little bit further to go. So if you're following along, make sure that you're still there. Welcome to those who I missed. There are a couple of people who've just recently joined, so welcome along. And again, if you've missed any of this, if I'm going too fast, it is all going to be recorded and it'll be on our YouTube channel. We'll send you an email with that information a little bit later on. Next up. So we do have a professional training plan. It's actually been updated slightly from the one that you see on the screen here. We've worked with a professional physiotherapist to put together a training plan, which is the absolute best way to get your body into shape, to be fit and strong. And also there are some strength and flexibility parts to it, which help to make sure that when you're on those uneven tracks or when you're getting tired at the end of the day, you're still protecting your body from any potential injuries. So obviously when you're walking loads, there is a chance of getting a slightly twisted ankle or just some sore knees. So we've made sure that we've incorporated into that training plan plenty of things that will help you to remain stable, upright, and happy all the way along. So that's on our website, and it's all in there with all of the stability exercises and things as well. Okay, I hope you're all still with me. We're going to move on to the next part, which is packing. So again, we've got a really good resource here online, which you can download, and that's all about what to take with you when you're walking the Camino. Now, obviously, depending on how you're doing it and when you're doing it, there can be some changes here, but we're going to talk through some of the really simple stuff just to make sure that your trip is as easy as possible for you. Right, let's get into that. Okay, so here are some of the essentials that we always tell our clients to bring with them. Now, remembering that if you're doing luggage transfer, you are going to be able to take a little bit more stuff. If you are trying to carry it all on your back, that's going to be a little bit more tricky. So if you're carrying it all on your back, some of this is potentially not as relevant for you, but it's all good stuff to consider. So here are some of the things that we have found personally from walking the Camino and from talking to our clients are really, really important things to remember on the Camino. Your essentials include flip-flops or sandals, as well as your walking boots. So your walking boots are incredibly important. You need to make sure that they are comfortable, worn in, and that they fit you really well so you're not going to get sore walking in them day after day. Some people do bring a spare comfortable pair of shoes just to change it up from where your shoes are holding your foot, if that makes sense. If one pair starts rubbing a little bit on the ankle, maybe the other pair will fit slightly differently and it won't rub on that same spot, which gives your feet a bit of a break. The same thing is why we tell people to bring flip-flops or sandals, because after a day of walking, there is nothing better than taking off your sweaty shoes and socks and switching into something nice and breathable. So flip-flops, sandals, jandals, I don't know if anyone's here from New Zealand. There's loads of words for these, but they are just very lightweight sandals, and they are brilliant for the end of the day, or even to carry with you if you've got a pair of nice lightweight ones to wear during lunch stops and things like that. Also, during those lunch stops, you might want to wash your hands, especially at the moment. We're obviously encouraging everyone to be washing their hands as much as possible. So a quick dry hand towel is something that's great to have with you. It means that you're not relying on anywhere else to have those towels. And actually, in conjunction with that, having either some soap with you at all times that you can wash your hands wherever you are, or some hand sanitizer to go with that is a really good idea. On the topic of keeping your body nice and happy, make sure that you have lip balm. I cannot stress enough how important this is. You'll be walking for long hours during the day, you'll be breathing a lot more, and that can just dry out your lips. So it will add so much comfort if you can remember to bring lip balm. Reusable water bottle will also help your lips to not dry out because it'll make sure you're hydrated. Depending on the time of year, you may be hiking in very, very warm temperatures. So it's important to keep that water intake up. There's plenty of spots along most of the routes where you can fill up water bottles, and you'll be able to find information about how regularly you'll be able to find water to fill up those bottles, either from your Camino planner or on your trip notes. Next up, we've got travel detergent. So this is something that we love as well. It kind of links to the hand towel from earlier. there are some amazing travel detergents which can be used for basically anything. You can wash your hands, you can wash your clothes, you can wash your dishes, but mostly this is about washing your clothes. So with your travel detergent, obviously you'll be walking along, you'll be sweating, you'll be getting dirt on you. It's all a very good time, but it's important to be able to keep your clothes nice and fresh-ish smelling and feeling nice and clean on your body. So a bit of travel detergent will save you loads along the way. You won't have to be worrying about buying individual pods and trying to figure out where you can get detergent on the way. Finally, snacks. I'm a big snacker, especially when I'm doing loads of exercise, and you will be doing loads of exercise along the way. There are plenty of places that you can stop and get an ice cream or a coffee, but while you're walking, it's also great to just have something from home or just a snack that you really like. This can also really help when you get to those points where you're going, I don't want to walk anymore, I've walked ages, I'm tired. Having a little snack can really boost your energy and boost your mental state as well. Okay. A couple of luxury items here. Now, some of these will be weird, but bear with me because I can explain them all. So the first one, peppermint foot cream. It doesn't have to be peppermint foot cream, but that's just a lovely one to give your feet a little bit of a refresh in the evenings. Also, as soon as you get into your hotel, you're going to be, or your guest house, you're going to be taking off those shoes and socks, giving your feet a good rinse, and then putting some moisturizer on them. It can really help to reduce your risk of blisters or of any sore patches forming, just keeping your feet in absolutely great condition. Hand moisturizers with built-in antibacterial. So this is something, again, that kind of combines with making sure you're keeping safe and healthy, and having a moisturizing hand antibacterial means that you won't end up with dry skin and potentially cracking fingernails. So definitely have a look and see if you can find hand moisturizer that has that antibacterial in. Otherwise, you can just use hand sanitizer and then hand moisturizer as well. As I said, you're out in the sun, your hands will be exposed to the elements, so keeping them nice and moisturized and dry will just keep them a little bit more happy. The tennis ball is one that a lot of people ask about. Now, tennis balls are actually really good for massaging sore and tired muscles. It's a little bit like a foam roller. If you've ever used one of those, physiotherapists will often recommend them, but it's a lot smaller and easier to travel with. So you put it under your foot or your back and you just roll around on it, and it gives you a little bit of a massage. And that's great after a long day of walking to just work out some of the little aches and pains you might get. Nowadays, I know most of us will be traveling with a smartphone or a camera of some kind, especially to capture those beautiful, beautiful moments. So a power bank is an excellent thing to have with you, and you could plug in your phone, you could plug in camera batteries depending on how that's set up, and it'll make sure that you don't run out of music if you're that way inclined, or audiobooks or podcasts or whatever it is you like to listen to. If you're not into listening to things, that's great too. A power bank can also be great for making sure that your camera can keep going the whole day. Right. Travel organizers. So that's the picture of the three bags there, the orange, the green, and the blue. They can also be known as packing cubes or packing cells. We really love these for keeping all of your stuff organized. It also means that you're going to be able to easily keep your dirty things away from your clean things, or your walking gear away from your evening gear. So if you're having your bags transferred, a lot of people will take a couple of sets of nicer clothes for going out in the evening, going to a nice dinner, maybe a nice dress for going to mass if you're that way inclined along the way. So having these packing cells or travel organizers is really fantastic to keep everything organized for you. Finally, a little bit of a luxury in there is also a fan. As I said, it can get really warm when you're walking along, so we do often see our clients walking along with a lovely little fan, just making sure that they've got a good breeze on their faces. So that's a nice little one. It could be one of the battery operated ones, or it could be just a piece of paper that's been remade into something that's fanning. Okie dokie. Gosh, we've still got some people joining us now. All right, so that's the majority of the pieces on packing. And we're pretty much on to the end of the webinar. That was all of the bits that I just wanted to cover off. If you would like to get a discount on your next booking, please get in touch with us. We would love to have you. There are still places that are definitely open for 2020. Otherwise, you can start getting in there with your 2021 bookings. So thank you so much for joining. This information will also be shared with you later. Do we have any questions? So I'm just you can pop your microphone back on if you want to ask that way. Otherwise, if you just pop your questions into the chat, which you'll be able to find up at the top of the screen, I believe, then we can answer all of those questions. Alrighty. So we've got a question in here about camping along the way. So we do not run camping as a standard package with Follow the Camino. We focus on making sure that people have spaces in guest houses and hotels. There's quite a few reasons for that. Mostly it's about making sure that you've got the space and security of those places. And because we do all of the baggage transfers between the different places, it means that we'll be able to see where we're dropping bags off. So that is what our main package is. Another question there, how busy are you anticipating 2021? That is a really good question. And honestly, it's so hard to estimate at this point. We know from the market research that we're doing that there are still people from various countries around the world who are not yet feeling confident enough to travel. Maybe that might be older people or people who have pre-existing medical conditions. So we know that there are lots of people who won't be traveling next year for safety reasons. But of course, it is also a holy year. So there's definitely a big drive for more people to be attending the Camino because of that. So you'll be able to get your plenary indulgence, you'll be able to visit all of the festivals. The Zacubio 2021 campaign, which is being run across Galicia, is really exciting. It's always got loads going on. So 2021, we're really unsure at this point how busy that's going to be, but we can't wait to find out. We know that we've already got quite a few bookings. So there's definitely, we've definitely got loads of clients who are planning on going in 2021. But as I said, it's really up in the air and we're just not sure. It also depends on which countries are able to go into Spain. As we know at the moment, it's just restricted to a subset of countries. So we don't know how that's going to go in the future. What else have we got? Oh, you can find out more about the Holy Year as well. Sorry, the link has just been dropped into the chat. We've got a whole blog piece about that. If you don't know what the Holy Year is and you're not sure what I'm talking about there, it is a pretty amazing thing that happens anytime that the Feast of St. Jacob, did I get that right? St. James, sorry, falls onto a Sunday. So that's a pretty amazing thing. It doesn't happen every year and definitely well worth reading about. Boots versus shoes is another question that's just come in here. That is a great question as well. It really does depend on how you best walk, what season you're going in, and which part of the trail you're going in. So for example, if you are doing a section that is very well paved, if that makes sense, and you know that it's not going to be as rugged, you might be better off in trainers. I know that a lot of people would rather go for something that's like a trail runner, which is definitely for some people. However, if you have weak ankles, you may be better in boots that have a little bit of ankle support. You've also got walking shoes, which is something in between. Remembering that boots and walking shoes are quite warm. So if you are looking at boots or walking shoes, it's important to double check that they are going to be breathable enough for you. It is warm on the trails. With boots, you need to wear longer socks. So making sure that you test them out and work out what's going to be the best option for you and your feet and the way that you walk is really important. Personally, when I do longer walks, I go for the trail runner, but that is because I know I might be running. All right, we've got some more questions up here. There's a question about a hands-free umbrella. Personally, I have never tried to use a hands-free umbrella. I know some of our clients have, but a lot of our clients actually find that by starting earlier in the morning, they just will be able to skip midday sun. And that means that they'll walk for, say, 4 hours, 5 hours before lunch. They'll stop for a nice long lunch somewhere in the shade of some trees, and then they'll only do a couple of hours after lunch. And that means that rather than having to deal with umbrellas to make your own shade, you can just find some shade to sit in, maybe take a nap. So that is what a lot of our clients would do. I don't know of anyone who's used an umbrella, so I'm afraid I can't answer that one too completely. Is the Camino fully open and services and inns along the route? Really good question again. Obviously, a lot of people will be wondering about this. So here's a little slide I prepared earlier. So Spain is closed, but that should have sort of brackets around it. Spain is closed to some countries. All of our travelers are safe. All of our suppliers are having a bit of a tough time. The Camino will open again. So it's technically starting to open already. We know that to certain countries, you are already able to travel on the Camino, but we're keeping a very close eye on Spain and making sure that it is opening up safely. Now, we do believe that we'll have people back on the Camino this year. We've already seen a few people coming into Santiago, and people have already received their Compostelas post-COVID, which is very exciting. It's really good to see. In terms of services, we are keeping very much in touch with all of our suppliers. As I mentioned, there's a lot of smaller businesses that are obviously focusing very much on their own safety and making sure that everything is safe for their staff and their families who often work there. So when you get in touch with us, we will be able to tell you which places are open, which places are able to provide for travelers at the moment. And it all depends on where you're looking and where you're booking. So the Camino Frances has a lot more sort of consistency, whereas some of the smaller areas, it can be a little bit harder because there's just fewer accommodation options. Now, that doesn't mean that you aren't able to go there. It just means that our team will work a little bit harder to make sure that we can find you all the best places to stay and make sure that you're safe the whole way along. So while Spain is still closed, in little commas, it is opening up and we will start seeing more and more people traveling. Jumping back over here, is there a way that you can bring a dog? Great question. We actually just recently wrote about this. So the answer is yes. That's the short answer. You can bring a dog. However, the little caveat on that is that it does mean that you have to walk a lot slower. Dogs, especially if they're not the breeds that are used to walking all day, do not walk as much as humans. That's just how they're built. They don't really walk that much. And so making sure that you're building that into the way that you think and the way that you plan is very important. Also, most or a lot of the places along the way would either not be okay with your dog staying with you, or they would need a lot of prior warning to make sure that they could put you in the right room. Again, if you're booking through us, we're able to negotiate all of that for you. We can talk to all of our suppliers. We know them personally, and that means that we've got a better chance of being able to work something out for you. So, short answer, yes, you can bring a dog. long answer, it can be a bit trickier, and it's definitely important to make sure that you start planning as far in advance as possible. The other thing is, I'm not sure where you're coming from, but only certain countries are able to bring dogs into Spain without a long period of putting them in quarantine. So just double check that as well. And you may also need to go through getting a pet passport. So check out our blog on that, because we've got loads more information about dogs on the Camino. Question here, what is the best season for the Camino? That is another excellent question. And so the best season for the Camino very much depends on what you want to get out of the Camino. We do see that our peak season for people walking is in the middle of summer. Now, that can be great for some people. They get loads of sun, they get to sit next to swimming pools, or if you're going on one of the coastal routes, you get to swim in the ocean every day. But it is also very hot. So it really depends on what you're looking for from your Camino journey. Generally, when people say, what is your recommendation? We would say it's late summer or early summer / late spring is when a lot of people would find the conditions to be really good. So for example, coming into August, September, you'll see a lot of people in August, September who will be walking the Camino, because it's a little bit cooler, but you're not quite getting into winter. If you did want to walk the Camino in a totally different way, you could walk during winter. And we do have people who will walk in the middle of January, and you will see snow, and you'll see a completely different side of the Camino. Something to note if you do walk in winter is that certain places will be closed. A lot of the tourism and the museums and accommodation are targeted towards those summer tourists. So it's just a very different experience, but a beautiful one nonetheless. Do you offer a cancellation policy for 2021 in case travel is not allowed from our home country? That is a really great question. So we do absolutely offer flexibility for people who are not able to do their trips. You can read all about our cancellation policy on our website as well. There's an update in there. If you just go to the blog page and search for COVID, there's a whole heap of information about what our new policies are and the ability to change or postpone trips if you're not able to get there. Obviously, we want to help you out as much as we possibly can, so we are trying to be as flexible as possible on that. We do understand that people from the US may not be able to come to Spain in the near future, but we do believe that it will be open to a lot more people in the slightly less near future. So definitely get in touch with us, start having that conversation about what your trip could be, and our Camino planners will be able to tell you all of the details about that cancellation policy and how you can just postpone if you need to. There's a question in here about walking with potential different abilities. We have had people walk this who have just recovered from cancer. We have had people walk this who have to use walking poles in real life all the time. It is absolutely possible for anyone. As I said earlier, what you might just need to do is talk to us, tell us about what your limits are, and make sure that we know everything that we might need to know about making sure that you have access to the right things. For example, if you do have any underlying medical conditions, it's important for us to know that so that we can keep an eye on how far away from centers you are. We can also make sure that you've got really short walking days. So that could be that we organize taxis or rides from halfway along to your hotel each day. We can really work that out for anyone. So if you do have any slightly different needs, just let us know, have a conversation with us, and we can talk you through all of the steps that we can provide to make sure that you can do the best Camino for you. Sorry, just jumping back to the footwear question, we also have a blog post there. The link has just been put into the chat if you're looking for more information about choosing the best footwear for your Camino, and there's information about the booking policy there as well. Alberges, okay, so In terms of the services that are provided by albergues, that's something that's slightly outside of our normal service provision. As I said earlier, we really focus on a slightly nicer Camino, and that's staying in guest houses and staying in hotels. And a lot of those will have some extra services available for pilgrims, especially. In terms of the albergues, I'm afraid I haven't stayed in any, but there is loads of information online, and you can find Facebook groups and forums that will tell you more about the services that are provided. I do know that there is quite a wide range. Some of them truly are just rooms full of beds, all the way through to places that are more like a guest house that have loads more facilities. So you would need to check on the individual hostels that you're looking to stay in to see what they provide, because there is such a big spectrum there. Another question here about doing the whole Camino in 2 years' time. That's so fantastic. It's not a question, it's just a statement. That is really great. And there's a mention there about doing it in a couple of years' time, potentially post-retirement. We have loads and loads of clients who will come through at sort of 65, 70 and go, I've just retired, or I'm semi-retired and I want to treat myself. I want to go and reconnect with my partner. We have plenty of these people come to us with looking for options and suggestions, doing the whole Camino, parts of the Camino, and they absolutely love it. It's a really fantastic way to spend those golden years. Okay, are there any final questions? As we've got in that chat there, the presentation is, and all of this question and answer stuff at the end is all going to be put into a nice video for you. It'll be sent out to you, and it'll be on YouTube for you to find later if you need to. So just have a quick look in the chat if you've got any questions. There's a bunch of different links in there. If there are any other questions, you're again welcome to send us an email, give us a phone call, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all of the questions that you have for us afterwards as well. Okay, so on that, if there is anything else, please get in touch with us. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And hopefully we'll see you all on the Camino very soon. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get onto the Camino Portuguese before the end of the year. So if anyone's there, I'll see you then.